Hi everyone, it's Alyssa and this is Always Cinema Chic, the place that encourages you to stay in, get dressed up, and watch a movie. So today I'm going to review Wonder Woman, and this movie really has been such a long time coming. There was a moment in the film where I just was so into it, I had to take a step back and think about what I was actually watching. I've never seen a superhero movie in my life where the female is the only superhero of the bunch. And once I really thought about that, I have to admit I got a little bit emotional. It really felt like it meant something to me. So Wonder Woman stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, and Robin Wright, and it's directed by Patty Jenkins. And while this movie does follow some of the traditional tropes of an action hero movie, I do think that the differences did make this movie special and did make it stand out. Now, it may not be revolutionary. Maybe I wanted it to be just a little bit more because it was talked up so much, but in the end, it is such a beautiful film. And I think what made me love it so much is that in a lot of these very masculine driven superhero movies, the hero is kind of in it for himself. He's saving the people, but he doesn't really care that much about the people. Whereas here, having a female superhero, we're getting all of that empathy and connectedness that she has, and she really wants to be a part of humanity. And I found that's something that's really lacking in superhero movies today, and I love that. So the movie starts out as a frame narrative. It takes place in present day, and we see Diana / Wonder Woman, played by Gal Gadot, who's at the Louvre, and she's received a package from Bruce Wayne. She opens it up, and it's a picture of her with 4 other guys, and she basically goes back into her head thinking about how she got to where she is and that story with all of those men. So it starts off with her as a child on the island of Themyscira. And here we get the background of the creation and the purpose of the Amazon women in a rather beautiful sequence that reminded me somewhat of the introduction to a Disney film. There's quite a bit of time spent on this idyllic utopian society where we see Antiope, played by Robin Wright, preparing the women for war and teaching them to be great warriors because she's certain that Ares, the god of war, is going to come back and wreak havoc on all the women in a prophesized war to end all wars. So Diana really wants to be a part of this, but her mother Hippolyta doesn't really want her to be involved in any of the fighting. But at the end of the day, it's in her blood, and her mom really can't stop her. So one day, Stephen Trevor, who's played by Chris Pine, literally comes crashing onto the island, and it's the first man that Diana has ever met before. And you know, with him comes a whole army of German soldiers, and of course the women defeat them in like 2 seconds flat. But he explains to Diana that World War I is going on, and she is absolutely convinced that Ares has everything to do with it. And she feels like it's her duty to go and stop this war. So she goes with Steve Trevor, and they go to London, and this is really where the whole tone of the movie changed. I understand that the beginning of the movie really has to be an origin story, but I felt that it was very exposition heavy, and I was just finding that the pacing dragged from time to time. But once they get to London, it's a much more lighthearted tone. The pacing picks up, and I found myself really loving the movie at that point in particular. Now, what worked so well in the film was how well it was shot. The cinematography was gorgeous, and the color palette was unbelievable. So they use a lot of, you know, neutral grays and browns and navy blues, but when Wonder Woman has to shine, she really does. And they maintain this really great comic book style throughout. And perhaps no sequence was as gorgeous as when Diana arrives at the gala in a royal blue dress in a moment that really is pivotal to the storyline. Every costume, set, and shot are truly thoughtful and well paced in this section of the movie. The action is also a standout because the movie really doesn't rely on that many action sequences. The action that we do get typically expands Diana's character in some way, and it teaches us about who she is. And to me, I was most impressed with the no man's land sequence. Diana is not able to walk past ruin and destruction when she knows that she can help and she can do something about it. And while the men want to just keep walking and keep going on their mission, it's really Diana's empathy and not just her fierce warrior skills that saves this town from destruction. And to me, these are the moments that make this movie stand out so much, because we get to see her connection to humans. She's been segregated from humanity for most of the film, so she really is trying to figure out who human beings are and understand the complex nature of them. And in this sequence, you really have a well-rounded and layered character that's born. This was the moment where I felt like Wonder Woman became Wonder Woman. But I'll also add that many of the action sequences are really just cool looking also. There's a gracefulness and strength in the choreography. Every time an Amazonian would spin horizontally in the air, I was pretty much glued to the screen. Now, I'm not going to say that this movie is perfect. Like I said before, the first act is a little bit uneven with the pacing. I wish they had sped it up. And it's also a huge pet peeve of mine when I can figure out what's going to happen at the end from the very beginning. So from the first moment I saw one character, I knew where they were going with the story and the plot line. And it really does fall into traditional narratives and tropes of the superhero genre, which is probably why I was able to figure out the ending so quickly. But the characterization here, that's really what puts the movie a step above the rest. Gal Gadot is definitely born to play Wonder Woman. She's incredible in this. And while she starts as a character who doesn't really understand humanity, and that kind of leads to some very funny scenarios, especially when they first get to London, it really does allow this character to continue to grow. And the more the movie goes on, the more we kind of lose that comedic tone, and we get into some real character development for Diana. She sees both the good and the bad in humanity, and she believes that siding with love and not war is the only way to go. So once again, not often a message that we see in male-dominated action movies. And Gadot brings all of the emotional complexity and physicality that's needed to bring Wonder Woman to life. I also loved Chris Pine in this movie. Steve Trevor is definitely a character who understands that he can't fight side by side with Wonder Woman, so instead he really acts as her backup and support, and he is just so charming in this movie. I love that his character is meant to really show Diana the world and help her to develop. And then there is Patty Jenkins, who has Wonder Woman in her blood. She was absolutely destined to make this movie. I'm so happy that Zack Snyder has nothing to do with this besides just a production credit, and he has like an overall story credit. But really, Jenkins brings life and levity to this movie, and that was something that was really lacking in all of Zack Snyder's previous endeavors with the DC universe. She really brings a shift in tone to this film, and I hope that that shift continues to the rest of the movies that are in the whole DC universe. And now for the grades. So first we have film and artistry, and I would give Wonder Woman a B. It's very well made, it's beautiful, the characterization is outstanding, but at the same time it follows a lot of the same plot devices of what you would expect for a typical superhero movie. And you know, when I'm able to guess the ending, it's not so great, plus the beginning could have been a little shorter. But in terms of watchability, which is how much I enjoyed it, I would definitely give Wonder Woman an A-. I'm gonna watch this movie a bunch. I bought it, and I just love the direction of where this is going. And now I'm really looking forward to the rest of the DC universe, and I hope that they take what Patty Jenkins did and they apply it to make these movies maybe a little bit less serious, because let me tell you, Zack Snyder is no Chris Nolan. He does not know how to do this. They are much better off to kind of go in the trajectory of where Patty Jenkins is taking them. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please comment below. I know so many of you have seen this already. I was definitely late to the game, so let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and remember, it is always in fashion to stay at home, get dressed up, and make it a cinema chic night. Thank you guys so much. Bye.